I'm sorry, Christy Wallace. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You probably are a really nice person. You are just one of the worst professional basketball players I've ever seen in my life, and you play 17 minutes a game. And not even that, sorry, you play 25 minutes a game. You play 25 minutes a game. But anyway, if you guys think Christy Wallace should definitely not be starting for this team, leave a like in this video. If we could hit 500 likes, that would be insane. And if you guys think that Christy Wallace should be benched for good, subscribe. We're trying to hit, I don't know what number. Just if we can hit 3.4K by the end of the day, that would be insane. It's like 14 more subscribers. If we could hit that, that's insane. Either way, Christy Wallace, I'm telling you right now, is the worst starter in the WNBA. She is like 11th man for Australia. And half of their team aren't even WNBA level players. She's not good enough to even come close to starting for a national team. I know, again, Australia are a good national team. She's not even close to being good enough for that team. Like, the game today was just awful. And look, if you want to look at plus minus, obviously the worst was Kelsey Mitchell. And look, you take the good with the bad for Kelsey Mitchell. You take the good with the bad with her. Like, I'll always say it. Kelsey Mitchell at times can win you a game. She can lose you a game. And it's the reason why I don't particularly rate gunners very highly. But she's really good. She's good at it. She is a very good gunner. I think she is just a significantly worse version of a Kennedy Carter. But look, in basketball, there's always going to be a spot on a bad team for a gunner. And I just think if you're trying to have a long-term winning mentality, having a gunner is irrelevant. Or in a like Kelsey Mitchell mold, especially for a max contract. But look, you take the good with the bad for her, minus 23. Christy Wallace was minus 17. Minus 17 today. And I got to give credit to her partner in crime, Erica Wheeler. That was the best game I've seen her play. And it was looking bad. Her first possession with 5 seconds to go on the shot clock, she dribbled to the basket, had a layup, decided to run under the basket like she did in practice that time, and threw the ball to someone for a shot clock violation. But Christy Wallace is garbage. She shot 0 of 3 from the field, a missed layup. She missed a wide open corner 3, but it is what it is. Like, you make or miss shots. Like, if you're like short term, like especially if we're talking about just making or missing shots, Lexi Hull didn't make or miss many shots. Christy Wallace was on the floor guarding Jewel Lloyd for, I'm pretty sure, her first 23 points. I'm pretty sure her first 23 points were on Christy Wallace. Maybe a couple of them were on Hull. But literally, Christy Wallace left her wide open. She didn't guard her. Like, when you see people that, especially when it's a case where somebody's cooking you, you saw what Horston did. Horston, 32 minutes, almost the entirety of the time, 94 feet. Not letting Caitlin Clark do anything. That was her goal. Christy Wallace supposedly is a dog, according to her coach. And then, again, Christy Wallace was not the first person pulled. They pulled Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston. As bad as Aaliyah Boston started off that game, those two were pulled before Christy Wallace was. Christy Wallace was still on the floor when those two were pulled. It was madness. It was absolutely madness. Like, it was like a 4-point game or something when they were pulled. And then it was a 12-point game when the two of them came back on. They went there with a lineup of Christy Wallace and Alyssa Smith, Kelsey Mitchell, Erica Wheeler, and Temi. And I'm like, what's Temi doing on the floor without Caitlin? But at the same time, you're just looking at this team and you're like, what was that lineup? But she's the worst defender on the team. In fairness, she's not as bad at getting around screens as Caitlin Clark. She's the worst on-ball defender on this team. Like, she can't guard anybody. And to be fair, maybe she looks worse because she keeps getting the assignment of the other team's best player. But, like, that's on Christy's sides. Like, she can't play defense. Like, look, Lexi Hull is a mediocre defender. She doesn't get absolutely cooked. She has a little bit of length. Her positional sense is okay. Sometimes she switches off a little bit. That's fine. Christy Wallace gets cooked every single game. The only time she didn't get cooked was against Mabry. And if you know anything about Breanna Mabry, it doesn't matter how she's defended. The ball's either going in or it isn't. She will shoot. It doesn't matter if there's a hand in her face or she's wide open. She probably shoots the same percentage depending on the day. So she doesn't offer anything. She offers nothing. And again, this is not a knock on Christy Wallace. This is not a knock on Wallace at all as a person. She's just terrible. She's just terrible at basketball. Like today, Jewel Lloyd had 15 points in the first quarter, and then early in the second quarter, she switched off. If you are guarding a player that is like ultra hot, you have to guard her. Like everyone's guarding Caitlin Clark. You don't leave her. You don't help off somebody who hit 5 of their first 6 threes. She missed her first shot, then hit 5 in a row. You don't switch off that person. You don't, have moments where you have a brain fart and you forget that, oh crap, I'm guarding the other team's best player. You can't, if that is your attitude towards defense, you cannot be assigned to the best player on the other team, which she is every single game. And again, it's not her fault that she's terrible. It's not her fault she's terrible. I'm just putting it out there. It's not her fault. Look, Erica Wheeler earned her 21 minutes today. Erica Wheeler should not get those minutes. But how did she... But I know how she's there. And again, it's not her fault that the reason why she's wearing an Atlanta Dream jersey is to double down the point. Is that Christy Sides, when she took the job at Indiana, brought her and brought Erica Wheeler with her. She brought those 2 players with her as the 2 players she wanted to bring from Atlanta. And by the way, I've seen some absolutely disgusting comments making up that there's some sort of romantic relationship between her and Wheeler or her and Wallace. That's just not true. It's absolutely ridiculous, that comment, by the way. But it is a case of is it happens in every single sport where a coach just trusts a player. For example, the most famous example in football is Harry Redknapp and Nico Kranjčar. He just brought Nico Kranjčar wherever he coached. Nico Kranjčar wasn't very good. He was fine. He was decent. But no matter where Harry Redknapp coached, he brought Kranjčar with him. But very much, it is a case of Christy Sides just trusts these players for I don't know what reason. I don't know what reason she trusts them, but there is a absolute undeniable trust. It doesn't matter what happens. She has unconditional trust in Christy Wallace and Christy Sides, Christy Sides, the coach, and Erica Wheeler. And she's just so bad at the sport of basketball. She's terrible. And she doesn't even seem to try very hard on defense. Look, what her role should be is sitting her ass on the end of the bench with Grace Berger, sometimes needing to play a few minutes, because she's not as good as Katie Lou, and she sure as hell is not as good a defender as Celeste Taylor. This team, they genuinely did not play offense today, the Indiana Fever. This was the perfect game where, look, this game's over. This is the game where they should have blooded Celeste Taylor. They were all getting cooked by Jewel Lloyd. This should have been the game where you're okay, we're probably going to lose this. Celeste, I'm going to give you the opportunity to guard Jewel Lloyd. I'm giving you this assignment. This is your test. No, but you cut her during the week. For Damiris Dantas, who is so out of shape she can't play. She got 0 minutes. She can't move. I've seen the practice. She can barely move right now. And in Victoria Saxton, who, I get it, maybe she's friends with Aaliyah Boston. She might get on with the team. But I'm sorry, you can't just... There's only 12 roster spots. In the NBA, when there's 15, you can keep someone there for the vibes. You can't. You can keep a Udonis Haslem. You keep a Thanasis there for the vibes. Not when there's 12 players. Not when there's 12 players and there's no perimeter defenders. But the trust... The fact that Christy Sides trusted, and we've only seen Celeste Taylor play 15 minutes this season, and Celeste Taylor's 15 minutes this season defensively is more impressive than anything that Christy Wallace has done. And the fact is, Christy Wallace game after game after game is starting with the assignment of guarding the other team's best player when she can't play defense. She is a decent shooter who's going through a shooting slump, who cannot play defense, and she is being treated like she's the best, or her coach treats her like she's the best perimeter defender in the league, because, I don't know, maybe coming off the bench for Atlanta one year, she was a competent bench defender. And that's the thing, maybe we're looking at this differently if she's coming off the bench and she's just a 10-minute-a-game player. You're okay, maybe she's not that bad a role player. Maybe if the roles were reversed and Lexi Hull was the starter and stinking it up, and she was coming in Lexi Hull's role, maybe the roles be reversed. People saying, maybe Wallace is better than Lexi Hull. But no. She's garbage. She's absolutely garbage. And a coach having some unconditional trust in her is going to hurt this team long term. Because every single game, She gets cooked. If they play a good guard, if they play a good wing, she gets cooked every single game. Like, why is it that Ryan Howard, a 25% three-point shooter on the season, goes and gives them near 30? Why is it that Jewel Lloyd, who regardless of her individual points, is shooting under 30% from 3 and 32% from the field, goes and has a field day? Why is it that Ariel Atkins, who was averaging like 11 points a game, goes and drops nearly 30? Why is it that everybody that she matches up to has their best night of the season? Well, I guess according to the coach, Christy's a dog and can guard the other team's best player. Ridiculous.